First, we will check if the firewall service is actually turned on. So to do that, we're going to go service, firewall, we're going to go system, ctl, status, firewall service, and it shows it is active and it is running. Now this is a problem, right? So how we're going to fix it is we're going to go service, firewalld, stop, and press enter. And then what we're going to do next is we will make sure the firewall is completely permanently disabled even after reboot. To do that, we're going to go system, ctl, and we're going to go disable, firewalld. And again, if you want to check the status, which you should, and you can go system ctl status firewalld, and now it should say it is dead or inactive. It shows right here. So this effectively disabled the firewall for our lab environment. You should not be doing this in a real world production environment. You will be simply adding a exception rule to the firewall. But for now, we're just going to simply disable the firewall. Next thing we're going to do is to disable the SELinux. SELinux is used by Linux machines as a security policies to protect the operating system. However, in lab environment, you may need to disable it to test items out, just like we disable the firewall. First, we will check what is the status of the SELinux. To do that, type SE, then status, and press enter. And on the terminal, it will return the current status of the SELinux. In this case, it shows enable. So to disable it, we need to go and open the SELinux, the configuration file. Before we open the configuration file, I'm going to go into the super user. And then we will open the configuration file, which is located in etc folder under SELinux, and the file name is config, and I'll be using nano to edit this. And in the middle, around the middle, you'll see the SELinux showing as enforcing. Now there are three types of configurations we can do. One called enforcing, which SELinux allow access based on the Linux policies, SELinux policies. The other one called permissive. Permissive is a method where SELinux will only log the actions that would have been denied if it is actually in enforcing mode, but it still allow the actions to go through. This is great for debugging. And finally, the last option is called disable. So disable is basically there's no SELinux policy being loaded and there's no logging whatsoever. So what we're going to do in this situation, I'm just simply going to put it into the disable mode. So like I mentioned, if you want something else in here, like for example enforcing, you just type just enforcing. Basically SELinux equal to enforcing, or the other one is permissive, like that. So for now, we're just gonna go with just disable, and then we're gonna save this file. You can recheck that file. Yeah, it's working. Now, if you go back to check the SELinux status, it will still say enable. That because of you need to reboot this computer in order to put it into disable mode after updating the configuration file. So let's reboot this computer. once rebooted, if you check the status of SELinux, so if we go status, SE status and press enter, and it should say disable. And that's everything. So all the security features and firewalls are down. Now you can test your Linux systems and Windows systems that goes through Linux without worrying about firewalls and security features blocking those actions. Thank you.